Welcome into the Fan Speak Network. I am your host, Justin Bruni. Joining me, as always, is my co-host and partner, Mr. Andrew, the TD King, Rob. How are we doing, sir? Good evening. Happy weekend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tomorrow at this time, I'll be smacks and relaxing at the beach. So glad to get one more time to talk about some best ball before I'm around a bunch of people that don't understand best ball or fantasy, let alone my family. So I'll be doing. I entered a lot of slow drafts today. That way, I can actually draft when I'm over in Delaware. So I'll be
Not
doing
a
a
big
bunch of
reader
slow
at the
drafts.
beach.
No,
No.
I'm not a book guy. My mind doesn't allow me to actually read and understand what I'm reading, and then not have to go back a page and be like, "What did I just read?" My mind doesn't work that way. So that's why I like drafting. Drafting, no words, just players.
Well, you won't have the urgency, of a fast draft. What's the temperature supposed to be like?
Supposed to be, I mean, pretty warm, which is good because I
Hot.
hate cold water. So if I'm gonna
Fair.
get in the ocean, I like it to be
Fair.
slightly warm, if possible.
Yeah.
So I
You
don't
go to
mind.
the beach sometimes, it's a nice day. It's like 84, 86 degrees, but the water is piss cold.
Yeah,
Like
like
it's not
65, and
cool.
you're like, oh,
Exactly. Yeah.
rough.
Yeah, exactly. And you're but it's misleading because again, like it'll be like a nice day. There might be like a little bit of overcast or something, but you'll get to the water and be like, holy mother of that that didn't get warmed up this morning. My goodness. Jesus.
Yeah, it's funny. My boys will just go right into the water. I remember as a kid too, just going in, not caring, and then the older you get, the more you care about the temperature of the water. So I'll
No,
have to.
absolutely. But hey, at the end of the day, no matter what, you get yourself in there head first. You get your head underwater. You're fine. You're fine. You get
Yeah,
through
as
it,
they
you're
say,
good.
got to dive right in.
Exactly. Exactly. Navy SEALs do it like, butt ass naked, probably, just to learn how to, deep sea dive and shit like that. So I think we can, you know, on the breaches of the ocean, we can figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. Tonight, we are going to be talking about round by round position rankings and exposure rates. We're going to be suggesting what positions we like in which rounds and specifically what players we prefer and our exposure rates to those players. Go ahead and smash the like button, share the video, and follow us on YouTube, Fan Speak Network. Andrew, I'm going to get the board pulled up here, and we're going to start, obviously, in round one, going round by round. I know that you have a good amount of Christian McCaffrey, do you not?
Let me check out BBM here and see. I have a little bit. In BBM, I currently have 14.3%.
14. That's a lot. So going through like my top 6 picks, CMC 6%, Lamb 6%, 11% to Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase 7%, Justin Jefferson, can't see it here, got to zoom out, Justin Jefferson 6%. So pretty spread out there. And my rule of thumb through that space is really just getting whatever value you can. And, the other night I got CMC at number 4. I've gotten CMC at 2. You get Lamb at 2. I haven't taken Lamb at 1. Through the first 6 picks, I'm pretty chalky. I'm not going to lie. I want to get a little bit of each of them. So far, I haven't drafted Justin Jefferson as much as Hill or Chase. So definitely taking those guys ahead. But I do have a ton of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I have him at 6%, and I think, or 16%. And I think that's a big difference between you and me, between our first round pick is I'm really settled at like that 6th or 7th spot. And you're getting up at that, 1, 2, 3 pretty often, it seems like.
Yeah, I have, but then again, as we've seen on stream, I generally get like 10 through 12 as well. So like
Okay.
my exposure to those guys is definitely up as well. But like
Okay.
I actually only have 5% Lamb right now. I thought I had more,
Interesting.
but I only have 5% Lamb. I have 7% Tyreek. I have 10% JJ, 8% Chase, and 8% Amon-Ra.
Okay. Yeah, I have a lot more Amon-Ra for sure. And again, that's just me just landing smack dab there right in the middle all the time.
Yeah.
Last year, I was getting the 101s. I had a ton of Justin Jefferson last year, about 14.5%, almost as much as Trey McBride. I had a little bit more of him, but I was able to get a ton of him. I mean, obviously not great. He got hurt last year, but his first big injury in the league. Right here, honestly, push comes to shove. Like me firmly, I don't like taking CeeDee Lamb at number 1. If I'm going to take a receiver at 1, it's going to be Tyreek Hill. And that's just because, we've seen this guy score 50, 60 fantasy points in a game. CeeDee Lamb, probably one of the safest floors you can have. And I think that's what, puts him up in this position, why people are comfortable taking him ahead of CMC, because also like injury likelihood, maybe a little bit less with CeeDee Lamb versus CMC, maybe just a little bit, just because, you might have 100 less total touches and CeeDee Lamb can play out the whole season. But for me, Tyreek Hill is the only other guy that I'd bring up top, just based on his absolute boom ability. He could have over 2,000 receiving yards. He could have double-digit touchdowns. He could have 100-plus catches. CeeDee Lamb, I don't know if he has all of those ceilings per se. I think he's capped to a certain degree, just a bit under Tyreek Hill still.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Lamb gets enough targets. I mean, he is the clear best player there. I mean, he's gonna get the targets. Like, I'm fine taking any of those guys. I see they all have a really high ceiling, in my opinion. So, like, I just want to diversify myself that I have enough to each of those. But again, unfortunately, I'm either like 1, 2, or back half here.
Talk to me about the back end of round one. Guys like Amon-Ra, you see here, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Bijan, and AJ Brown and Puka.
Yeah, so I mean, the one that I have the least amount there for sure is AJ Brown. It's just like he's either gone before I get there, or I have 12. So like if I have 10 or 9, he's typically like I just, and I don't know if it's just my drafts, but he's typically gone. So I get left with the Puka. So I have more Puka. I have Bijan like 16%. Garrett Wilson, I have like 11%. So it's just AJ Brown's the one that I just has eluded me. When I'm in the spot to take him, he gets taken before. So then I just take whoever's there. But yeah, I mean, I have a fair amount of those back end guys. Let me see here. So Harrison, I have 12%. Gibbs 14%. Let's see,
Zero
Puka
Gibbs for me at that cost.
Puka 11%, and Bijan 12, Wilson 8%.
So your favorite player to take in this range, bar none.
Oh, what I mean, what in the back half?
Yeah, in this range from Bijan. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so I agree, but I have the most of AJ Brown because again, I think that's also just getting a pick shy of Bijan and Breece Hall all the time. So I have, like I said, Amon-Ra 16%, then Bijan 10%, Breece Hall 9%, AJ Brown 14%, Puka 5%, Garrett Wilson 9%, 0% Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, in this cost, in this range of players, very tough for me. Marvin Harrison 7%, Drake London 4%. I would say my favorite is Bijan if I can get him. It's AJ Brown right after that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against AJ Brown. I wish I had more of him. I just am getting, unfortunately, unlucky in the drafts that I'm in a spot to actually take him. I mean, and just to kind of put a bow on everything. Obviously, you're taking running back or wide receiver in this range. There's nothing else.
It's pretty fluid, right? I mean, it's really just going to be what falls to you. And if you're doing a lot of drafts, you're going to diversify regardless in the first round.
Definitely.
You're going to get different guys. Even me, I'm going to get my shares of Jahmyr Gibbs at some point here. I'm hoping for a little bit of a fall. I think he's gotten a little bit of a rise, actually. Pissing me off. All right, let's move on past that. We saw guys like Marvin, Drake London, Brandon Ayuk, Saquon, Gibbs actually went 16 in this one. His ADP has him at 12, so he actually fell in this draft. Jalen Waddle, Jonathan Taylor, and Chris Olave. In this bunch, who are you drafting the most of? And do you have like a position like demand here? I really like receiver here.
I mean, yeah, I prefer wide receiver here as well. I mean, if we're counting Gibbs in here, I probably have the most Gibbs. Actually, you know what? I say that, but let me check my Barkley. Oh yeah, Barkley, I have 8%.
I still have a lot of Barkley and Taylor, but I have just as much. So I have Taylor and Barkley at a total of 28% between the two of them. I have 26% Devontae Adams. And then there's a bunch of other receivers I have like a smaller, portion with. We'll review those in a second, but just like one player will still make up both of those two.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I agree. Like I think the person I have the least amount is Waddle, and that's just because again, like where I'm slotted in generally, Waddle's not available to me, or I'm going to be reaching on Waddle. Obviously I have a bunch of Adams, have a bunch of Olave. I do have decent Barkley.
What's a bunch of Olave? What percentage do you have of Olave?
I have 14.3%.
Okay, so I have 11% Taylor, 6 Olave. What do you have for Nico Collins? I only have 2% Nico Collins.
Collins 10.7.
Okay, so a fair amount of Nico. Brandon Ayuk, I had 7. What did you have?
Ayuk, I have 10.7.
Okay, and Jalen Waddle, I have 1%. Do you have
Yeah,
any shares?
I have 1.8.
Well, okay, so we're pretty even on Jalen Waddle. I have 26% Devontae Adams. I also have a lot more drafts than you. You might get up to that.
Yeah, I only have 9% Adams.
I do like Barkley and Taylor here. I have really no issue either going Barkley and Taylor at the 11-12 turn. I think they are mispriced. And if you want to start off, hero RB, that's a roster build I can definitely feel comfortable with if Taylor and Barkley are my first two running backs picked. If it was going beyond that, like Barkley and like Kyren or Barkley and Achan, I don't feel as comfortable with it. But if you're going to start off the first 2 rounds, that is definitely a good way to go. Or if somehow you get, Bijan and Brees, and then one of those guys fall to you, I'm also very comfortable with that too.
Yeah, I mean, if you get Bijan and Brees, I mean, I don't know what the hell your draft is doing. That should not have happened. But I mean, I agree with you. Again, we're in a range where you're just taking wide receiver, running back. There should be no other positions drafted in the first 2 rounds.
No, I was saying Bijan and Brees with any combination of those 2 players.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
like if the Barkley or Taylor picks fell to the round 1 Bijan and Brees drafters.
Yep.
Yeah. So any of those combinations would be just fine with me, in accordance also with Barkley and Taylor themselves. Yep. If it's not that, I do not want to start my first 2 rounds with running backs. I think we both share the opinion that most likely, if you're doing a high volume of drafts, doing that approach, the double hero RB, fun. Yeah, take a few of those drafts, but the majority are going to be double tapping receiver here. No.
Yeah, I would say so. It's either receiver or running back receiver, or wide receiver running back. But yeah, if you want to do 2 running backs, again, it's fine. But you got to know that you're going to be squeezed out a little bit at wide receiver, and you're probably generally at the most taking 5 running backs. If you go running back, even 4 is viable depending on when you take that 3rd running back. I mean, if you look here, the guy who's in the middle took running back, quarterback, running back, and then went wide receiver. Like I'm not doing that because
not recommended.
His first two wide receivers are Hollywood Brown and JSN. I do not feel comfortable moving forward with those 2 as 1 and 2 on my team.
We'll see what that team winds up doing. DJ B Nasty. I never liked that name.
Thanks for paying the rig, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. I think we commented on that during our draft itself. All right, so we're breaking into round 3 here. End of round 2, you've got Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans, Devonta Smith, Cooper Kupp, Malik Neighbors, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore. I mean, I'm tapping a ton of Cooper Kupp in this range. Like that is the pick for me here. I'll look at my numbers. I've got 1% Achan. He was mentioned before, so he went a little bit earlier than the ADP, I think, in that one, 4 picks ahead. So I've got 6% Samuel, 11% Evans, 1% Achan, 4% Smith, 6% Neighbors, 6% Metcalf, 20% Kupp, 12% more. So being a Bears fan and just, hey, look, it's Cooper Kupp. That's been my MO so far here.
Yeah, I mean, out of the guys there that like the Evans, Smith, Cooper Kupp, Neighbors, DJ, all that, like I have the most Evans, Smith, and Kupp probably out of any of those guys, followed by Metcalf after that.
What percentage of Smith do you have?
Smith, I think I have 14%.
Interesting.
Oh, I'm sorry, 12.
12, okay. Yeah, I mean, the way that I have it with my exposure, I think that's easily how I rank the guys in this section. I want Kupp. I think Evans is a little more expensive, and when I'm sitting there and like Deebo, Evans, and Achan are there, I might hold, if I'm in a turn just for one of these other guys after, because he's still priced a little bit higher than Kupp. And I'm combined, I have, was that 12% plus 4, 16 of Smith, Neighbors, and Metcalf combined. I mean, if I could get that to 22 or 18%, somewhere in that range, I'd be okay with that for that combination of the 3, because I like those guys, but I don't love, any 3 of them, any of that set.
Yeah. I mean, for me, again, it's I don't mind double tapping, as you saw here in my, I am in the one spot here. I double tapped Evans and Smith. I mean, those are two guys I really like. I just think they're have a good touchdown upside as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, again, round three for me, it's wide receiver, running back. And then I'm also okay starting to take QBs in this round and next round, because I do feel there's value in taking an elite QB if you
Mhm.
build your team correctly. Don't be taking fucking Lamar Jackson and then 2 rounds later taking CJ Stroud. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense to do. But
Right.
I'm okay taking QB in this range as well.
So I mean, we're coming up to the second half of this round and the third round where QB is in that range. We're passing the threshold of Kyron Williams, Derrick Henry. I've got 14% Henry. Then you have a roll of receivers like Stephon Diggs, Michael Pittman, Tank Dell. I have none of Zay Flowers, Sam Laporta, Josh Allen. That's at pick 37. In this draft last night, he went at pick 31, so well ahead. And then Jalen Hurts, his ADP is 41. He went at 34. So again, getting pulled up the board a little bit in our draft, being a little bit more valuable in round 3. I think the preference is probably round 4 based on that ADP, because Allen's ADP is at 37, and that's the start of round 4. So I wouldn't be as thirsty for a quarterback in round 3 per se. I think the ADP in this draft that we did was just, a little bit, tainted by some naivete drafting. That guy that did Hall and Taylor, and then Allen was the guy that brought him into the first round. And then Hurts, I'm guessing, was a reactionary pick because he thought someone in this turn from 35 to 38 would take a quarterback, because that's actually when the first quarterback goes. And oh, look, I can get the second quarterback in that range.
Yeah, well, the guy who took Hurts here too also had Barkley and AJ Brown, so he was just completing the Eagles' triple
Absolutely.
stack there.
Absolutely. I didn't see that. That's a very good note. In the back end of this round, though, I think I prefer Derrick Henry, Diggs, Pittman the most. I think my exposure just speaks to that as well. 20% Pittman, 10% Diggs, 14% Henry, 1% Kyron, 0% Dell, 2% Flowers, and I've got 9% Laporta.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the guys I have probably the most exposure to this back half, kind of first half of round 4 would be Henry and Diggs, followed by like Laporta. I haven't really drafted. I've 1% Tank Dell. Pittman, let me check that. I don't think I have too much Pittman. 6%. Yeah, I'm not really huge on Pittman. Flowers 8%, Pickens 4%.
10 for me. I'm
Um,
surprised you're not higher on Pickens.
I am kind of. I'm getting there. So I think I'm gonna take more Pickens, but generally, like the reason I don't have a lot of Pickens right now is because he also goes around Kirk and Higgins, and I like both those guys a little bit more.
Yeah,
So I'm
I
taking
have
them more.
I have 4% Higgins, so I need to catch up there.
I mean, I have 25% Higgins right now.
I just did a draft where I just took Higgins actually.
Yeah, and then I have
That's a
16%.
I feel like that's a lot for Higgins in this range of the slew of players that are going here. The tight ends, the QBs. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a lot for this range, I feel like.
Yeah, I like Higgins. Again, we're searching for
No, that's
touchdowns
fair.
here,
It's
though, right?
I mean if he's going to get a bump, the exit of Tyler Boyd should definitely help. I mean, the guys that are behind him competing for touches, not necessarily at his level. So I mean, it's a good buy for sure. I'm just kind of surprised at this range specifically, because I know that you like Laporta, and I know that we both like going elite QB. So I know how much you love Kincaid. So I got to believe that Josh Allen's got to be up there too. I only have 4% Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, I only have 5% Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's
I
interesting.
don't mind
I
taking
thought
like
that would have been.
Kincaid's. I don't
I
mind
thought that would
taking
have been
him
higher
without
for
Allen.
you.
Yeah, no. I don't mind taking like Kincaid without Allen. Let me check Laporta. Laporta, I currently have 12%.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Let's see. So after Laporta, we do it. What's that?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like in this round again, like round 4, like to me, what you're drafting here, or what you should be drafting, is wide receiver, tight end, or QB.
So anything.
Well, I don't really draft a lot of the running backs here. Like Pacheco, if
Okay.
he falls a little bit to 5, I like that.
Yeah.
But I haven't drafted a lot of ETN. I don't
This
have a lot
is
of Pacheco, but
this is a very fluid round for me. I think you kind of nailed it on the head there, because realistically, there's any position. I will easily take Travis Etienne coming off a big year, Pacheco coming off a huge finish to the season. I love every single one of these tight ends, specifically Trey McBride, who I have 15% of, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, getting any of these, elite quarterbacks at value, like the end of round 4 or the start of round 5. A lot of times you can get a fall for Lamar Jackson. You see, Patrick Mahomes. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself here in the next round. Being able to get one of those guys at the end of the 4th, beginning of the 5th, I think is great. So I think early 4th, I'm probably still staying away from quarterback, but I really like the talent here. Christian Kirk, T. Higgins, Pickens. I'm lower on Zay Flowers. Even in round 4, I'm not taking Tank Dell. I just think that's a complete misprice. And it's because of all the players I'm talking about, like Amari Cooper, and in this range, guys that I didn't mention, I've got 5% Kelce. I mentioned Higgins at 4, Pickens at 10, Amari Cooper at 9, Christian Kirk 14%. That's a fair amount. ETN and Pacheco right at 7%. Lamar at 10, Trey McBride at 15, Mark Andrews at 7. I mean, I feel really good about spreading it around from those guys.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, again, like going into round 5 here, I personally like tight end and wide receiver the best here. That's generally what I'm drafting, and I mean, the exposure will show. Like, I have a lot of exposure to Andrews and Kincaid. Little light on McBride right now, I believe. 7% McBride, so they're decent, but not where you're at. But then I'll turn around and grab, Ridley. I have 10%. McLaurin, I have 8%. Like I tend to just lean over and draft tight end wide receiver in this round.
No, that's fair. Doing the Lamar Andrews stack, that's been popular. You see, that's just off a few picks here from.
Yeah, that guy took Andrews, and then I went and just took Lamar because, like, again, Lamar.
Right.
If you're gonna take a QB naked, it better be a running quarterback. So I took Jackson, and then obviously went back around and took Kincaid.
But it's absolutely doable, though. Like, we've seen it done in drafts that you and I have
tons
been
of time.
in.
I just didn't want defense is the best offense. I don't want that guy to get the stack.
Hey, that's fair. I see it a lot, especially when it's happening to me. Getting into Dalton Kincaid, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, Josh Jacobs, like I kind of alluded to, Mahomes, and then you saw that run there of receivers and Allen, Brown, Rice, Reed, a couple of Chiefs wide receivers going back to back there, James Cook, Richardson, and Godwin. Any pick there that you like the most, or someone that you have a lot of exposure to in that range?
I mean, in that range, if we're just looking at that round from this draft, it's Kincaid for me, obviously. But as far as the receivers, love McLaurin and Ridley. I like Hollywood Brown just because of the unknown of what he could do with Patrick Mahomes. But honestly, like the guy I really just tend to draft a ton of, and let me check the exposure here. Yeah, 17% Godwin. Love Chris Godwin at that range. Are you muted?
Yeah, I love Godwin as well. My exposure in that range, I've got Andrew 7%, Mahomes 7, Hollywood Brown 17. A lot of him. I only have 1% Kincaid. I thought I was higher than that, so I got to get moving on him.
One Kincaid. Oh,
if you had asked me, I would have told you at least 5 to 6%. Like maybe that's just because I took him more in the big board. I'm not sure, but yeah, I was surprised to only see 1%. Josh Jacobs 4%. Keenan Allen 17, Reed 7, 26 Calvin Ridley, and then 19% Chris Godwin. So a lot of him as well. James Cook 10%, Richardson 6%. I think that's a healthy amount for those guys as well.
Richardson, I've drafted him once, so I have him 1.8.
Interesting.
And Mahomes 3%. Reed, I think I have barely any as well. Yeah, 3% Reed. Rice, I'm really low on as well. Actually 5%, so not as low as Reed. But yeah, I mean, I fall back on Ridley, McLaurin, and Godwin in this range.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of go with just what you know, right? I mean, they feel very, very safe. I mean, and again, getting Mahomes in that range, I've seen Richardson go ahead of him. I've seen CJ Stroud go ahead of him. And then you get another draft where CJ Stroud falls 20 picks past ADP. It's absolutely wild. So quarterback, to me, again, it doesn't even feel like you need to be rushing to them in this position. It doesn't feel like it should be a priority. It's a doable option for a roster build. But again, it just doesn't feel like I need to rush there. I can still really soak up, if we're getting into, round 5, realistically, I mean, you and I think we can both agree we will not argue against 5 receivers, but you can get a really good combination of a 3-2 combo of like really good running backs and 2 or 3 really good wide receivers. Excuse me. A 5-player split there.
Yeah.
If you're mixing in a quarterback, I think that's okay. Yeah, that'll look good on paper, but I think overall efficiency and building a high yielding opportunity roster, I think it probably benefits you to go maybe 4-1 or 3-2 in favor of wide receiver versus running back.
Yeah, definitely. I'd rather take more wide receivers and running backs through the first 5 rounds.
Mhm.
Round 6 is where it gets interesting for me because I like a lot of the running backs that tend to either fall or stay put
Mhm.
in round 6. The James Cook, the Mixon, Rashad White, Ken Walker, Montgomery. Like I have 23% Montgomery right now. Absolutely love Montgomery. But yeah, like this is the range where I'll start to take the running backs a little bit more heavy.
Mhm.
And I really like those running backs that tend to be there available in round 6.
This is an interesting zone for me here. I don't think I have a pure pick in this range at all, and I believe my exposure numbers are going to really highlight that. So 19% Godwin, that's where I left off. Kyle Pitts 5%, Joe Mixon 10, that's a higher one in this range. 5% Worthy, 7% Rashad White, 1% of Dunze. Listen to this. 0 Addison, 0 Rice. 0-0 back to back. Haven't seen that yet. George Kittle 4%, CJ Stroud 6, and then a big spike up to DeAndre Hopkins at 15 and Ken Walker at 12.
Yeah, like I'm taking running backs
Pretty
here.
fluid.
Yeah, I'm taking running backs here a lot. Obviously, in this draft, I took a Dunze. I've only taken him 3 times. Brian
Mhm.
Thomas, I have like 12% of, so I like Brian Thomas a lot. Hopkins, I have to be getting up there because 12% as well on Hopkins. Um, Alvin Kamara, I have 8% Kamara. What about Najee? 10% Najee.
Mhm.
I think I have like 1 Stevenson. Yeah, I've drafted Stevenson once. Um,
Yeah. So DeAndre Hopkins ADP is in round 6. He kind of flipped ADP with Deontay Johnson in this draft. So Deontay Johnson becoming more expensive. I've been saying this. He's been a round 7 pick consistently. He was a round 8 pick to open up Best Ball Mania, and now he's just constantly climbing. He's going to be a round 5 pick by the start of the regular season. Like I can easily see him getting ahead of Rashee Rice still. If you get a Rashee Rice info that he's not going to be anything. Jaden Reed, he's still a number 2 in a very split wide receiver stable. Chris Godwin and him probably a little bit more even. Keenan Allen's still a 2. Deontay Johnson is the number 1 on his team. So I think more casual drafters, he can still climb, get into round 5. So I don't hate taking him in round 6, but again, he and DeAndre Hopkins kind of flipped ADP here. So I guess my round 6, the most exposed player would be DeAndre Hopkins. He would be the guy that I'm taking most. But Kenneth Walker, great power runner, great half-point PPR running back. He's someone else I like in this range. Do you believe in Rashad White, 2.0? Like he's going to come back and do it again?
I mean,
I'm less in on him than I was last year. That's for certain.
yeah, I would agree with that. It worries me that Dave Canales left town. They have a new coaching staff. They drafted Bucky Irving. So
Mm-hmm.
how in on Rashad White are they? I feel like at the first half of the year, he's still going to get a good workload. It's how long are they going to let him continue to do that until they want to insert Bucky Irving a little bit? Because they both kind of do the exact same thing as far as like pass catching ability. So if that goes away, that's going to hurt him, and then he may not return value there. So I agree with you though. Like I'm out on him more this year than I was last year.
I mean, it's just the increased cost. I mean, where
Yep.
he's going, the other running backs I think just also have more exposure to touchdown upside. David Montgomery, even Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Walker, Najee Harris, even Ramondre Stevenson. I would bet, I would board bet that he would have more rushing touchdowns or just total touchdowns overall than Rashad White this year.
Yep. No, I agree.
So kind of breaking into that range because again we have some ADP flips. David Montgomery typically goes around 7 in this draft. He went in round 6. Alvin Kamara typically goes in this range. So we had Thomas, Hopkins, Kamara, McConkey, Harris, Ramondre, JSN, Jameson Williams, Ingram, Jordan Love, Jake Ferguson, and Kyler Murray go. I know for sure by this point you want at least one tight end. No.
Yes, I was gonna say Ferguson. I have 18%. Ingram, I think I'm up there too, 13%. Yeah, I'm again. So I wrote down here. So
Mhm.
round 7, I'm typically taking wide receiver, running back, or tight end. If I haven't taken a tight end, I will shoot for a tight end here. If
Mhm.
I don't get one here, then I usually tend to wait. But these are kind of the last little bit of tight ends that I actually really like and believe in. So I generally
Right.
try to take one by this time.
I really like a solid 0-2-3-2 build to start out the draft. So that's the first
You
7
want two tight
rounds.
ends?
Exactly.
Okay.
0-2-3-2. You get 3 really good receivers like Hill, Adams, who's a really good 3rd round receiver.
I mean
Cooper
Cooper Cup.
Cup. You
Yeah.
get Cooper Cup, Adams, Hill, and then you get a couple of guys like Travis Etienne, James Cook, and then George Kittle and Kyle Pitts, or Kyle Pitts and Evan Ingram, something like that. That really excites me because like you tell me every time, hey, you're set. Like there you go. You got your 2 tight
Yep.
ends and you're done. And now you can really fish for that extra value at running back and wide receiver in the later rounds, which is really a higher potential ceiling than really any late round tight end, regardless. That's where
Exactly.
you're going to find the next Kyren. That's where you're going to find the next Puka.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you, and I've probably done it maybe like 30 to 40% of my drafts where I take 2 really good tight ends because I do
Mhm.
believe in that strategy. I just didn't think that you did, but like if I'm in,
No, I don't. I like it when you can pull it off. I don't. It's not very normal for it to really happen
yeah,
because I really need to like my three receivers to start. Even if I had those 2 guys to start, like Hill, Adams, and I got like Malik Neighbors, I was like, you know what? It's still Malik Neighbors. He's still a rookie. I need another one. I need another
yeah,
receiver. I need another one. And then I might do 1-0-1-4-1. I might do that, and that still might look very good. But I won't have the double, elite tight end or whatever, double mid tight end. I really like getting a combination of, Ingram, Njoku, or Ferguson, like any 2 of that 3, where I'm not paying for like the elite double tight end. I'm paying for like double mid tight end, if that's a thing, if we can coin that, double mid.
double mid tight end.
I mean, I don't know. It's not the premium ace. It's like it's the Mets at mid shelf.
Yeah. So again, round 7, wide receiver, running back, tight end, generally what I'm looking at here, and then
Mhm.
as we head into round 8, you see what happens. Running backs, tons of running backs. The way that we're both drafting, where we're taking wide receiver heavy, then we come back around and you have all these running backs sitting here for you. So generally
Mhm.
in round 8, taking a running back. Now, if I do go running back heavy, I will, if any of these tight ends fall, grab a tight end here. If not, then I'll take a shot on Coleman or some of these other guys that tend to go in round 8, even round
Mhm.
9, depending on if I like some of those other guys. But generally, myself, I'm taking a running back here.
Yeah, this is where you're definitely coming back around, and I'm going to review my RB exposures here. So Aaron Jones 14%, Ramondre 6, Najee 19. Always been a Najee stan. I was about to say Ramondre. Always been a big Najee stan. Jonathan Brooks, your boy, 1%.
Oh, disgraceful.
Zamir White 11, Jalen Warren, goose egg.
Disgraceful.
I believe in Najee Harris. I believe in Najee
Yeah,
Harris.
but so Arthur Smith is there. Look what happened last year with Bijan and Algier.
You're
So I'm saying, like, you
listen.
don't have to hate Warren to like War.
You're not
Both can be
wrong.
good.
I'm gonna start taking more Jalen Warren. I'm not. I'm. I need to get Rain in. I appreciate you. All right. You can go easy on me. I recognize my fault. I should have probably at least 4 to 5% at least of Jalen Warren to protect my 19% of Najee Harris at bare minimum. So that's a mistake. We need to correct that. You're absolutely right, and we're gonna do that. Courtesy of our friends over at Best Ball Overlay, because now I see this. Now it's glaring in all my drafts now that I signed
Ticker
up
at the
with them.
bottom, baby. Ticker at
Yeah,
the bottom.
exactly. Yeah, use promo code FANSPEAK 33% off. But no, but seriously, like now I see literally, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's just kind of staring at me. Like he is a player that I want exposure to. some of those other guys that I mentioned, like even Jahmyr Gibbs, like I really don't want that much. I'm going to draft him. I know I will. I'll get him at better value, hopefully. But even if I don't, I'm like, all right, it's time to pay up. Like it didn't happen. I got to buy him now at this cost, whatever it is, what it is. And I'll still find some, ways to build a unique roster. But because we have that tool at our exposure now, and we're also getting, all the correlations and, I know like, oh, well, hey, I draft a lot of Ravens players. I draft a lot of Chiefs players. It won't hurt me to draft Jaylen Warren because I still have that correlation that I can build back there. And again, because I see my heavy investment in Najee, I can back it up with Jaylen Warren. So, really appreciate Pat over at Best Ball Overlay. It's been a very helpful tool here through like my last 8 or 10 drafts since signing up with them.
Yep. So in round 8, my most exposed players are Mostert, Warren, White, and Brooks. Those are the guys I usually will be drafting. You know what? Let me check out Moss here real quick. I know I've drafted him. Yeah, 7%. So he's probably he's just under some of those other guys there. And
What's
Connor.
What's your thought process on the receivers there at Cortland Sutton and Curtis Samuel? They're kind of on an ADP island of receivers. There isn't a receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots after Curtis Samuel, and ahead of Sutton, it's like maybe 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're just kind of like bunched, like there's 8 positions ahead of them, not a receiver, and 5 behind them, not a receiver.
Yeah, and this is exactly why we always tell people draft your wide receivers up top, because you're going to get to the spot where you're either going to reach for somebody because you need a wide receiver, or you're settling for some of these guys. Like, I'm not a Cortland Sutton fan.
That's what I'm doing. Shit. I'm going to tell you my numbers in a second. Go ahead.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Yeah, like I'm not a Sutton fan. I'm not sure that he's going to like, he got really lucky last year with touchdowns with Russell Wilson. I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm not sure that he's going to be fully checked into the team. The team may suck. Honestly, his best path is getting traded, going somewhere else. So that's if you're taking him, that's the hope, right? Like, let me check and see what I have Sutton.
I have 10% Sutton,
yeah, 5%.
And 15% Samuel. So yeah, I like receivers. 25% in that range. The running backs, Connor 5%, Swift 9, Zach Moss 4, Brock Bowers 4, Mostert 10. Joe Burrow 7. Yeah, I mean, I'm in on the receiver there. I've even got 9% Tyler Lockett, the next receiver after them.
I have 5% Curtis Samuel and Coleman 5%. Yeah, like I have like 5% across the board on all those guys. Like I just generally just don't. I take the running backs here. I feel like the running backs can score more points than any of those wide receivers. And again, I've already taken enough wide receivers at that point to just go ahead and start taking the running backs.
Right. All right, breaking into round 9, we've got like Josh Palmer, Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, Rashid Shaheed, Joe Burrow we mentioned, Njoku, kind of like that last threshold of like elite tight end or potential mid tight end, whatever you want to call it. Trey Benson, Purdy, Shakir, Wicks, Robinson, and Daniels. Of anyone that went in this round, who do you like the most? I'm assuming it was Josh Palmer.
Yeah, so I like Palmer a lot there. Shaheed's also interesting to me, but in this round, I'm generally taking quarterback and running back again. I've taken a decent amount of Prescott, Burrow, Daniels. Purdy's probably the one I haven't taken enough of yet, only because I generally get squeezed out of the Debo.
What percentage of Purdy do you have? I have 11%.
I have 8.
Okay, so we're pretty close.
Yeah, but I have 12% Burrow, Prescott 11%, and Daniels 13%.
Interesting. Okay. What about what about Palmer? I have 22%. I mean, we're both really in on him.
Yeah.
You have 16. So yeah, and I think you're probably going to get to 20 at least for sure.
I think so as well. Shahid 8% for me, Shakir 10%, and Wicks 2%.
Let's see.
I also have a decent amount of let's see, Benson. I think I have like 10%. I have 12% Benson and Robinson. Oh boy, if I could spell Robinson, that'd be nice. Brian Robinson 9%.
Okay, of that range you mentioned for like quarterbacks for me, so I've got Dak 7, Love 4, Jaden 1, and then the running backs Pollard 19. Robinson 4, Benson 7, And then receivers after Lockett, I had a fair amount of him at 9%. Rashid 4, Palmer 22, Dubes 5, Shakir 10.
Yeah, you're really high on Pollard. I only have 3% Pollard right now. I just generally the difference, I guess, for me probably like
Ridley
what
stack.
you're
Ridley stack. I have a ton of Calvin Ridley. I have way more Calvin Ridley than I do Tony Pollard.
yeah. Where are you at on Spears? I know we're jumping ahead just a little, but where are you at with Tajay?
Not as much, but I took more of Tajay in the big board. He's way down here. Where is he?
I mean, he's down a little bit. It's just again like sometimes I look at it like I
4%.
think I'd rather take Tajay instead of
Or
Pollard.
in that range, I'm taking more Devin Singletary.
Oh boy, hold on. Let's check Singletary. Oh yeah, math checks out 0%.
14. Giddy up.
Yeah.
Up. Big dogs got to eat.
I
Big
gotcha.
dogs got to eat. All right, so that's starting to put us into. I mean, we're breaking into round 10, so let's go ahead and do that. I mean, it feels pretty fluid for us here in round 9. I think this is a good place to get a quarterback. It's kind of, again, almost like the last threshold for David Njoku. This is a great threshold to kind of get your last dibs on a really good QB in Dak, Burrow, Purdy. Burrow, you're getting the high volume passing. Same with Dak. Purdy, you're getting one of the top 3 offenses potentially in the league this year. I do like quarterbacks after this. We'll get to them. Guys like Tua, Goff, and Herbert. But in this range, I feel like I'm getting really good value. I mean, like round 9, round 10 for any of those guys. You saw tonight on the draft that I did with Megan and Pat. I got Dak in the 100s. So, I mean, that was fantastic. That was, late round 9, early round 10. So felt really good about that. But you and I have seen him fall a ton. We saw Kirk Cousins fall last night, 30 spots. You could have any one of these drafts where you see, Purdy fall. I've seen him fall 10, 12 spots. So
yeah, there's a lot of statue QBs, guys that don't generally run. If those are the guys that'll fall, you're not going to see a ton of like Daniels, any of the upper echelon guys that are going to run. You're not going to see them fall. But if you got Prescott or Tua or
there's
Stafford,
Daniels is really the only running QB in this range.
Right.
Burrow, Dak, Purdy, Lawrence, Williams,
Caleb
Goff,
might run
Tua.
maybe a little bit. Lawrence
Not as much.
well.
Not as much as Jaden.
No, God, no. But I think out of those guys that are sitting there, I think Williams and Lawrence are the ones that we'll see end up running the most outside of Daniels in this range.
I think I know who our favorite round 10 picks are. I think this other player may have fallen. Nope, they both went in this round. Our favorite picks in this round are either Jerome Ford or Brandon Cooks. Period.
100%.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I draft a lot of Trevor Lawrence as well, but Cooks and
what's your combined percentage between the two? Your combined percentage
with Cooks and Ford?
Yes.
Let me see.
Mine's a big number.
Mine's 39%.
Mine is 48.
Damn.
27 for Cooks. 21 for Ford.
I have 21 Cooks and 17 Ford.
Who do you think my next highest player is in this round? I'll give you a hint. This player went in round 9 in this draft.
Brian Robinson.
Dontavian Wicks, 15.
Oh man, we are so not in sync here because I have 3% Wicks. Like that is so
simpatico. You have them.
I do.
Also in this range, I've got Zeke Elliott 1%, Jerry Jeudy 4%, Chase Brown 5%. I mentioned Wicks, Mike Williams 2%. That's just out of respect. I love him, but he's gonna fall. He's gonna fall down. He's gonna break. Gus Edwards 12%, Myers 4%, Lawrence 10%. I keep saying I want to draft Blake Corum. I have no Blake Corum. I think he's getting pulled up the board a little bit much, and I also just take a lot more Jerome Ford.
Yeah, I got 8% Corum. I mean, I love it's for me. It's Ford, Cooks, and Lawrence are the ones I've drafted the most in that area there, even including Edwards, which I have 8% of. Yeah, I mean, those are just the guys I really like there.
Well, I have a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown, so I have 17% Jared Goff and 11%.
I have 11 Goff and 5 Tua.
Interesting. A lot of Tyreek Hill for me too at the top of the board. So just kind of backing him up again with my first round exposure was of Tua and Amon-Ra. I've got 10% Schultz, 27% Austin Eckler. Woohoo! 0%
Damn.
Josh Downs, 17% Gabe Davis, 0% Zach Charbonnet. Eat your heart out. This is
Yeah,
all round 11, by the way. This is all round 11.
Yeah, that's a high number for you with a few of those guys. Let me check out Judy here. Judy,
For
3%.
which guy?
You said you had somebody you had really high.
Austin Eckler?
Yeah, Eckler. Yeah,
27%.
I have 14. That's a lot.
I mean, if you
Let me
say
see
so. I
Sharp.
mean,
I have no Charbonnet right now as well.
0. What
I
about
need
Josh
to.
Downs? I have 0 Josh Downs.
I have 14.
Interesting.
I like Josh Downs.
You like Josh Downs, but you won't draft Anthony Richardson.
So here's we're getting into the range where I start to look at instead of floors, like at the top you're looking at, obviously they all have ceilings, but you're looking at the floor.
Mhm.
Here I don't really care about floor. I want spike weeks. Josh Downs, if you look and go back and check out the splits between him and Pittman when they
Mhm.
were the two main guys getting targets, they are almost equal in almost
Interesting.
everything.
Okay.
And you're getting him way cheaper than Pittman. He's just a guy that I think can get me 4 or 5 spike weeks. He's going to be the downfield threat most likely, probably splitting with Mitchell in that role. But yeah, Downs, it surprised me. I saw that stat on Twitter and I was like, all right, I need to make sure this is right. And it is.
I'm surprised you didn't take more Gabe Davis with how much exposure you have to Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I have 8% Gabe Davis. I like Thomas, Kirk, and Ingram way more than I like Davis. And again, like
Okay.
I
But
think
he's the best value of that whole bunch, though. He's the guy that just falls.
so this is true to a certain extent. I think Gabe Davis was made by Josh Allen. I don't think he's as good as people think he is. I think Brian
Mhm.
Thomas is going to show that he's much better than Gabe Davis and can be that downfield threat. So, but
They
by the
just paid
time
him a
Gabe
lot of
Davis,
money, man. I know it's the hype of the draft with Brian Thomas, his touchdown ability, but Gabe Davis is going to play a lot of snaps. Just in this range, that's what I really like the most is Jags offense going to be really good, and I know that Gabe Davis going to play a lot of snaps in that really good offense.
yeah, the other problem I have too is that I generally like to draft those guys, the Ingram, the Thomas, and Kirk. And then if I already have 2 or 3 of those guys with Lawrence, I'm not taking Gabe Davis. Like I'm not gonna
That's fine.
have
Yeah.
5 Jags.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean that's fair. But again, just kind of a last ditch effort to get
Yeah.
stacked up.
And again,
there
I
with
have
them.
8% Gabe Davis, so it's not like I'm fully fading
No,
him.
no,
Like,
no. That's still good. I'm just surprised I have more than him with how high, or more than you with how high you are on him.
yeah.
So getting through this next slew of players here, you're getting into we're pretty much in back end of round 12. Justin Herbert, Pat Freiermuth, Jayon Dotson, Jalen Polk, Xavier Legette, Rico Dottle, Marshawn Lloyd. Anyone in that range that you're really feeling? Again, this is pretty much all of round 12.
Yeah, the guys I think I've drafted the most here would be Musgrave, Chandler, Herbert, Eckler, and Dotson. I
Yeah,
have all those guys are 9+% for me.
yeah, absolutely. And
Dotson's like 15.
Eckler went later in this one. He's actually typically around 11 pick. He's 140 in this draft that we have on the board, and his ADP is 130. So big fall for D-Lou Tomsky in that draft.
Yeah,
Chandler in that range, I like Dotson. I have 9% of him. Lloyd 9%. I think we both like him. Everybody else is really middled, like Dottle 5, Legette 1, Polk 2, Muth 5, Herbert 6. Like nothing wild here. Very spread out.
Yeah, and again, like in this range, I'm generally taking wide receiver, running back, obviously quarterback as well with Herbert, but he's really the only guy I'm taking in that spot in this round. But I mean, yeah, it's generally wide receiver, running back here for me.
Yeah, I do have a fair amount of Musgrave. I've got 10%. I've got 22%
I have
Darnell Mooney.
16% Musgrave. I did not realize I had that much
He's
Musgrave.
in the next round.
Damn.
You have 16%. Wow. Yeah, he was last pick around 12 here. Starting round 13. And again, that feels pretty fluid. Like Eckler or Herbert. I mean, it's also just really mixed up from the other guys.
Yeah.
Eckler's a huge value there, though, either round 11 or 12 for sure. All right, starting round 13, they had Pearsall, Stafford, McLaughlin. That's a bit early, I think, for McLaughlin. Hawkinson, Burton, Mooney, Johnston, Demarcus Robinson, Chubb, Bateman, Demario Douglas, and Tyler Algier. Who are you liking in that range?
So again, this round I'm generally taking wide receiver or running back. I mean, I took Pearsall here only because I have like almost no exposure to him, and I had CMC, so it kind of just made sense with the build. Yeah, I
Sure.
have 3% Pearsall right now.
Hmm.
I love McLaughlin, like Darnell Mooney, Burton, Quentin Johnston, Pop Douglas, Bateman. Like love all those guys. Bateman's getting a little expensive now. I mean, we were getting him way back in the draft earlier in the year.
Hmm.
Bateman's gonna. I mean, let me check my exposure. Yeah, I have 16% Bateman. Like I'm gonna be off Bateman real soon because he's climbing, and I already have exposure to him. I'm probably just gonna let him ride up the board, and I'm not
I
gonna
got
take
him
that anymore.
like 13 picks after ADP in the draft I just did tonight with Pat and Megan.
Yeah, like if he
Where did he go
falls,
in? Where
fine,
did
but
he go in this one?
he's 13. He's the third last pick in 13 here.
So he went. What is that? His ADP is 168. So he went 14 picks ahead of ADP. That's just a bad pick.
Yeah, like too much, too much. Like
That's
I'm
just a
not.
bad pick. Yeah.
And well, I mean, he's getting good news out of camp and all that. So I mean, I understand why people are
No,
raising him up
no,
the board, but
no.
luckily I've already drafted enough of him in the back half here. Like, he was
Yeah.
going generally in around 16, 17, 18. Now he's getting bumped up the board. I'll be off him real soon.
Yeah. So in this range, I'm really heavy on Darnell Mooney and Jaleel McLaughlin. Total of 45% between the two, 22% Mooney and 23% McLaughlin. Not a lot of much else. Quentin Johnston to Burton, 4% of the other receivers there. Stafford, 7%. When you get your Pukas, you get your Cups, you back it up there with him. He's really the only QB in this range. Douglas, 2%. Jalen Wright, 1. Kamani Vidal, 6. Adam Thielen, 19. Next.
Hold on.
Tyler,
Thielen, you said? Oh, yeah, 0%. Okay.
yeah, Tyler Algier, 4. Moving on.
You have 19% Thielen?
It's going down.
Brother.
It's
Let,
going
let,
down.
let me help you. That's too high. That's too high, brother.
I stack a lot of Carolina Panthers. I don't know what to tell you. I stack a lot of Carolina Panthers. He
Oh,
happens to
man.
play on that team.
Bold, you better go get a Thielen jersey because you're gonna need all the luck you can get. Wear it, rub some shit on it, rub a boot his head. I don't know, but Thielen, brother.
If he's on a winning roster and I make $1.5 million, yeah, we'll do
You know
something.
what? I'll bend the knee to you. If Adam Thielen's on your winning team and you win 1.5 million, I'll bend the knee and say I was wrong, but
You're
I
gonna
don't think
do
that's
more than
happening,
bend
man.
that, buddy. I don't
That's
know what
not.
you're talking about.
Oh, jeez.
Unreal.
Yikes.
Think you're getting
Rough.
away that easy.
So and again, I wrote down, just jotted some notes here. From 13 to 15, I generally am just taking running back, wide receiver. Not a
Hmm.
ton of tight ends taken here for me. Not a ton of QBs. Generally, those if I have to look, Otten coming up is the guy I probably take the most out of any of those guys for tight ends. But I
Hmm.
generally am just taking wide receiver, running back in these rounds.
Yeah, so 4% Henry, 9% Fant, Sanat 1, Otten 15, so pretty on par with you there. Conklin 6, likely 1. Jonnu Smith 17%. Chigakonkwo 17%.
Jesus.
The late tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, can we agree that Jonnu Smith and Chig are going to have better stats than Ben Sanat and probably even Isaiah Likely and who else? Maybe even Tyler Conklin. I mean, Noah
I mean,
Fant,
dude, I don't know, man.
Hunter Henry.
I don't think I'm there with you, honestly, on that.
TJ
So here's the way I look
Hawkinson,
at it is if you're taking the
Matt
shot on
Breida.
Sanat, it's you're strictly going for end of the year stats. I don't think he's going to be a big first half guy.
Yeah.
And the way I draft too is I'm looking once I make the playoffs, I want guys that are going to be playing valuable snaps.
Hmm.
Uh, Chig is interesting because of I think they're going to be more of an upbeat offense than they have ever been because of the coaching and coordinator changes.
Yep.
With that said, it's a crowded room. We like Ridley, we like Hopkins, they have Boyd. And again, this is
They have
come
the
from a
two running
big guy.
backs. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
like
get it. But I have the most stacks with Carolina and the Titans. Those are my most exposed teams and stacks because
yeah,
they're cheap. They're affordable.
they are definitely affordable. For sure. I prefer Conklin and Otten out of any
Hmm.
of those guys.
Sure.
Um,
No,
I don't know.
I love Ty Conklin. I drafted a ton of him last year. He was my most exposed player last year. Didn't work out. I hope I get a little bit of a refund this year, but the guys that are in that range, I feel have a little bit more upside than him. And if you're getting him paired up with a Garrett Wilson, he's also a good late round stack option with Rodgers as well. Really all of these Titans just blossom from me taking a ton of Calvin Ridley. Oh, I drafted Calvin Ridley, and oh, look, I'm in the late rounds and I don't have him stacked with anybody. Hey, look, there's Will Levis, there's Chig, oh, whatever combination of the running back. Oh, Tyler Boyd.
You can just take Ridley and not have to stack him.
I do plenty of times. Ridley's one of my top most exposed players. He's top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see if it pays off.
It stems from that. I mean,
and again, we're in the range now. I think we both can agree. You're taking shots in the dark a little bit here on just some guys that might have some upside, that might get you a few spike weeks, that might enter your lineup, hopefully 4 or 5 times, but probably 2 or 3 roughly. So again, like, you can't really beat anybody up for taking a lot, some of these guys. It just is what it is. But it's for me, it's about the process of the build. So if you're building the team correctly, it's fine. So like, generally, again, I'm just taking.
Well, so let's play some some best ball hero here then. So let's say round 14. I'm gonna give you some Adam Thielen examples. Would you rather have Adam Thielen or Noah Fant?
Fant.
Wow. I mean, I just get your notebook out. We can just do like a whole slew of Adam Thielen board bets here. More targets for Adam Thielen for sure. Jalen Wright or Adam Thielen?
So I think Adam Thielen. Dude, so here's the stance. I'm not taking Adam Thielen at all. So
you have to play the game. Play the game. Do it now.
I think Adam Thielen scores more points than Jalen Wright, but the way I build my team, Wright's going to fit more into my teams.
You can say that, Andrew, and tell people also not to take Adam Thielen. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just be objective, Andrew.
I think Adam Thielen is a better pick, but I'm not doing it because of the way I build my teams.
Exactly. But that's not the point. That's not the point, though. The point is, tell me who's going to score more points. Who's the hero?
Sure. Adam Thielen will probably score more points than Jalen Wright.
Troy Franklin.
Still not taking. I'll take Troy Franklin. 100%.
Interesting. Okay. Also, Adam Thielen will score more fantasy points than him. Hunter Henry. Also think Adam Thielen's going to score more fantasy points. Kamani Vidal.
I'll take Kamani Vidal.
I will take Kamani Vidal as well. I will take Kamani Vidal as well.
I'll say definitely Vidal.
I've definitely taken more of him. We will both agree more Baker and more Rodgers over Thielen for sure. Yeah. Ray Davis.
See, man, if I'm going to say Ray Davis just because I think this can be the guy that gets the
stop it.
I think Ray Davis can have the goal line work. If that happens in Buffalo, he's going to well outscore Adam Thielen.
You have shame. You have no fortitude. Let's do a couple of players ahead of him. Tyler Algier, Demario Douglas, Rashad Bateman. Probably take all those guys ahead of him.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's easy. Let's do Wan'Dale Robinson or Jalen Wright in this round.
Wan'Dale Robinson or Jalen Wright?
Yeah, they're right next to each other. Picks 160 and 161 in this draft.
I'll take Wan'Dale.
Interesting. Will you stack any late round Giants with him? Will you get some Dan Jones?
I mean, a couple times I'll take Dan Jones, but no. I also like Hyatt too.
I mean, we didn't discuss the exposure for Chuba Hubbard, but he is also super high for me in this range.
Chuba, I have 14% right now.
Yeah, I mean, I have a ton of Chuba.
I almost have exactly the Brooks and Chuba both almost at 14%.
Why is Chuba? Where is he on this list? I don't know why I'm not seeing him on this ADP list.
He should have been up higher, I think.
No, he's on the board. There he is. I have 26% Chuba. 26.
God,
yeah, like him a lot back there. Not taking Aney, Jalen Wright, taking 23% JMC, Jalil McLaughlin. Yeah, I'm getting more of Vidal, but I wasn't taking a lot of them. I have 6% of him, like I mentioned before, Thielen.
And we're the exact same on Vidal.
Yeah, I have 5% Robinson versus Jalen Wright. So that plays out as well. Who else do I want to ask you about in this range? What are your thoughts on Noah Fant? Better than Adam Thielen?
So they paid him. He's the best tight end that they have. He's going to play meaningful snaps is where I'm at. Now, granted, take this with a grain of salt because by this time I already have an elite tight end and I'm just kind of throwing some darts at some of these guys. I always like to take an elite tight end if possible. So these guys don't truly matter to me because if my elite guy goes down, I just want somebody playing meaningful snaps. He's also probably at this point going to see more targets roughly or the same amount of targets as Lockett. I think JSN makes the leap forward for them. And obviously Metcalf is an absolute beast. But Fant is He's just going to, and I think that with the new coaching staff as well there, that they want Fant, so they're going to utilize him a bit more than they have.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's interesting. I just don't
For
have
the
a ton
tight
of
ends
them.
that we can see on the board. The
Mhm.
ones I actually like are Henry, Conklin, Otten, and Jatavian Sanders. Those are
Well, I
guys I
mean,
actually like.
I haven't even gotten to Sanders yet. I know I have a bunch of him, but yeah,
Yeah.
Sanders, Juwan Johnson,
Yeah, Johnson as well.
Chig, Smith, like I mentioned already, and Kate Otten. Those would be my top guys.
Yeah.
Keynotes from, let's do round 16. So you had Herbert, Allen, Braylon Allen, that is, Greg Dortch, Jonnu Smith, Chig Okonkwo, Geno Smith, Jalen McMillan. I know that you love Roshan, Javon Baker, Ty Conklin, Jalen Tilbert, Dame Pierce. So some names we've mentioned, some that we haven't. I really like Dame Pierce in this range. I know that I have a bunch of him. And I also have a lot of Khalil Herbert. I have 20% Herbert, and I have 19% Damian Pierce.
Yeah, in this range, in round 16, I think you should be taking tight end and running back. That's generally what I'm doing.
You should be done with receiver.
Yeah. I mean, you should be all but done. Like, I like McMillan a lot as well. So I do take him, but yeah, generally I'm taking running backs here. I have a boatload of Allen, Roshan, and Pierce. They're all 19% or more for me. Absolutely love these dudes.
So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so like the cases of why I'm taking them is if Mixon goes down, Pierce can be an absolute stud. I know he didn't do it last year. Singletary just kind of took the reins, but go back 2 years ago, Pierce was awesome. It's a great offense, good offensive line, so love Pierce. Braylon Allen, the exact same thing for me. Behind a really good guy that has a good offensive line and a good system. If Brees goes down, Braylon Allen is an absolute stud. And Roshan, I think I'm just stuck on Roshan because I think he's going to see the field a lot more than people think he's going to.
You're just addicted.
I love Roshan Johnson. I do. I'm probably biased on Roshan Johnson. I think he's going to see the field more than people. I also think Swift's shitty. I think the Eagles made Swift way better than he actually is. And Herbert, I mean, he's a cheap option for the Bears, so I can see why they probably end up keeping him, but he is a movable target.
Yeah, so I'll also throw my head in the ring here for quarterback. I have 11% Bryce Young and 20% Will Levis. As I mentioned, most exposed to the Titans and the Panthers. That means I got to have the quarterback. So 31% there between the two of them in this range.
I have 5% Levis, and who was the other guy you mentioned?
Bryce Young.
Oh, boy. Bryce Young, big 0.
But you have Sanders.
Yeah. That's just because it's the unknown option down
here.
I
have 17% Jatavian Sanders. 17%.
I have 12.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that range, like I said, pretty open still for me. Running back, tight end, any of those guys I mentioned, and QB. Not really taking a lot of receivers here. 1% McMillan, 1% McCaffrey, 5% Mims, 5% Corley, 5% Wilson, 4% Franklin, 4% Robinson. So very, very even across the board there.
Yeah, I'm not taking a ton of wide receivers down here. The guys I do like taking, again, if I'm going to take a wide receiver here, it's generally to do a week 17 correlation, a bring back, a stack, something of that nature. But the guys I take that I don't really feel like I have to have that to take them is Devontae Walker, because I think that behind Zay Flowers, it's kind of open. Obviously Mark Andrews, but it's open.
11% Walker for me.
Walker, I have 16%.
Nice. Look, yes.
Okay. I really like Devontae Walker.
Good. I also have 14% Tyler Boyd. So,
I'm gonna be way less than you. 3% Boyd.
Yeah, a little bit less.
I love McMillan. I have 12% McMillan.
It's a lot. I feel like that's a lot.
Baker, no, I only have 7% Baker. And then the other guy I'd like to take a shot on is Hyatt as well, just because I think it can be a downfield threat for them. It's 6% on Hyatt. But the other guys, again, a lot of these wide receivers, I'm looking for stacks, week 17 correlation, bringbacks, something of that nature.
Okay, got it.
What about OBJ? Let's check Odell. Just curious.
I have 9% Odell.
7% for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 6.
What about Tolbert? Where are you at with Tolbert?
7% Tolbert. Okay.
And that's generally because it's a late Dallas stack. I'll take Prescott, or it's a bring back to the Eagles.
I gotcha. So anything of note here for the last round? I mean, we kind of cleared a lot of the players there.
This
We just
is
discussed for round 17.
I think if you're gonna pull a trigger on somebody where you want to scroll the fuck down, as they say, 17 and 18 is the time to do it. I see
Mhm.
Estime getting up the board now a little bit. CEH, like some of these guys, are you just taking a shot on that they could be
Mhm.
a guy at some point in the year? This is where you do it. So I really don't like saying that any of these picks are bad for people. Like I've taken enough Tank Bigsby
Mhm.
because I think if ETN goes, I have 21% Tank Bigsby. That's gross. I vomited a little bit. That's
That's a
too much.
lot.
I'm
That's a
I'm
lot.
I'm bringing that down. Your Adam Thielen is my Tank Bigsby, where I'm like, that's too
That's
much.
correct. That's
We're bringing
correct.
that down.
So some
Yikes.
guys that you could consider. You were talking about Arthur Smith, Cordell Patterson. He's an off the board running back. Deuce
Yeah.
Vaughn, an off the board running back, could potentially still have a role in Dallas.
Sermon. I see Trey Sermon was picked here.
Yep.
Again, Evan Hall got injured already. Sermon's an interesting pick there, so I
Mhm.
don't mind that.
Justice Hill, he had a role down the stretch for the Ravens. He could
Yep.
still very well be in play there.
Where are you at? I wanted to ask you this the other night, and I completely forgot. Where are you at on somebody behind Saquon Barkley? Where are you at on the Will
Kenneth Gainwell.
Shipley, the Kenny
No,
Gainwell?
no, I'm going Kenny Gainwell. They have a lot
I
of
know
trust
they
in him.
like, and
They
and you're
they like
right.
him.
Yeah, but then why go get Shipley?
I don't know because they're the Eagles. They're weird.
Shipley's like
Why not Dylan Lobb over Shipley? I would rather they pick him.
I'll take
But
Dylan Lobb over Alexander Madison.
okay, that's fine. I mean, I think that either of those guys are just fine for round 18. I don't think
Yeah,
there's really a big sway over the other. They also paid Madison a little bit. They drafted Lobb,
yeah,
obviously.
Madison was so bad last year.
Let's see. Marquez Valdez Scantling going to be with the Bills. Might have a couple of big plays in him this season. Might
Yeah,
have
I
you
see
like
everyone
a
has a hard
spike
on
week.
for Chase Claypool.
If you want to get super hard with Taysom Hill at QB, that's an option.
Oh, dude. So I've been doing those DK drafts a little bit with spreading them.
Uh-huh.
He's listed as a tight end over there. That's where
Nice.
you draft Taysom. You don't
There you
draft him as
go.
a quarterback.
There you go.
Can't
You've
do that.
got AJ Dillon. I mean, obviously not sexy, but a good off the board pick. If there was a Josh Jacobs injury, they're going to use multiple backs. It would be Marshawn Lloyd and AJ Dillon for
Yeah.
sure. Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. Pick your
Oh,
poison. Pick your
Michael
poison.
Mayer.
Or Michael Mayer. You can do that combo in round 17, 18. You and
That
I,
team.
what's that?
I was just saying the Raiders are going to use 2 tight ends or 3 tight end sets. It's
Right.
already known. Their offensive coordinator is ranked towards the top every year that he's coached with the 2 tight end sets. I've drafted. Hold on, let me see. I want you to guess. What do you think my exposure is to Michael Mayer? And remember, this is a guy that's not even being drafted half the time.
1%.
9%.
I have 1% Michael Mayer.
I have 9%.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I just.
The other guy that I was going to bring up was Juwan Jennings. You and I drafted him together.
Yep. Don't mind that.
Yeah. Really dead other than that. I mean, I haven't taken any LosIvas, Bo
Do you have
Melton.
any of the guys that were the Kendrick Bourne, Traylon Burks, Elijah Moore? Do you have any of those guys?
I think I have some Elijah Moore. Where is he at? Hang on. He's got to be up here higher, right? Yeah. Elijah Moore, 1%. A.T. Perry, 1. Malik Washington, 2. Elijah Moore, 1. I think I just said.
Okay. Yeah, I have none of Moore, Burks, or Bourne. None.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any Rondell Moore.
I also don't have any DJ. Oh, I lied. One DJ Chark. I think that was when you and I had that. I had the technical difficulties, or you did, and we drafted Chark. That's the only one I got. What about
Theo
Dortch?
Theo Johnson, 2%. Sam Darnold, 1%.
You got any Dortch?
We got 1 probably.
Okay. Yeah, I have 3% Dortch.
I'm looking for him right now. That's Burks. That's Tony. I don't see him. I'm pretty sure I have at least 1. I do a fair amount of McBride builds. So where is he? There he is. 2% Dortch. Yeah. 6% Chark for me. So that was definitely me who pulled the trigger on that. Definitely me. What do you think about taking Justin Fields with your last round pick? I have 5% Justin Fields and 1% Russell Wilson.
Let me see here. Let me check mine. Fields, I have none, and Wilson, I have a 1%.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Taking either one of those guys. I mean, somebody's going to need to throw the ball, in Pittsburgh. So I don't mind taking shots there. I generally just already have my QBs. I don't feel like taking a third with Fields or Wilson's going to really, make or break it for me. If I am going to take one of them, Fields is at least interesting because of what he can do with his legs. But I think either one of them, I'm not going to fight anybody on taking either one of those guys. I mean, they should be fine.
Yeah. No one else really to highlight there. I mean, again, there's a fair amount of guys that are off the board. The Trey Tuckers, Josh Reynolds. If you want to get really cute and go with like a Michael Thomas or Juju Smith-Schuster, they're just really unspoken names. They probably still play a lot of snaps this year. There's just not amazing snaps. They're not high value, but they're players that could give you 4 good games maybe. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster was actually a top scorer, I think, in week 16 last year. So where he was going really wasn't that big of a bust to get one spike week in weeks 15 or 16. So anything else you want to share before we head out, sir?
No, I don't think so. Other than let's check back here in about 3 or 4 weeks, and I bet you we see a way different ADP, and guys that are down the board right now are going to be up because
training camp, baby.
Yep, training camp's going to happen. Injuries are going to happen. We're going to see guys come out of nowhere, so it'll be interesting to see over the next few weeks how these guys that aren't being drafted right now come up the board and where they kind of end up.
No injuries. Don't do it to us. Don't do it to us.
God. Yeah, I'm waiting for the big one. The one of the big ones, one of the first 3-round guys that were taken, and we
one of my 22% exposed players.
We'll see. We'll see.
We shall, and then we'll pivot. We'll do what we have to do. Appreciate you riding along with us again on your way out the door. Be sure to smash the like button, share the video, follow us on YouTube, follow us on the socials, on the X platform, on the old Twitter machine. Take care. Be well. Be good. If you can't be good at it. I'll see you.